think you tend to get the outcomes by following your interests and the way that you're kind of naturally pulled to spending your time, I think. So I would sometimes look at, like during my PhD, because I was doing this internship with IBM Quantum where I was making the videos, I was doing that alongside my kind of academic research. And sometimes I'd think like, should I be spending all this time on videos? Like, what if I didn't do this?
Welcome to Beyond the Bit Quantum Pathways, the podcast where we explore the exciting world of quantum careers. I'm Amir Rasool, your host, here to bring you inspiring stories from industry pioneers, researchers and innovators who are shaping the future. Whether you're a career changer, a curious mind or an aspiring quantum professional, this is your gateway to discovering opportunities in this groundbreaking field. Hi everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Bit Quantum Pathways. This episode with Dr. Maria Violaris was recorded a few weeks ago, but I wanted to make sure it still went live because it's one of my favourites. Maria brings a rare mix of deep research insight and creative science communication, and her journey through OQC, Qiskit, and Quantum Paradoxes series captures exactly what this podcast is about, connecting the technical and human side of quantum. It's been a busy few weeks with conferences, client projects and travel, which delayed the release slightly, but I promise it's worth the wait. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Beyond the Bit Quantum Pathways. Today's guest is Maria Violaris, quantum physicist, science communicator, and content creator. Maria, that's quite a wide range of work, from deep research to science communication. For listeners meeting you for the first time, how would you usually introduce yourself?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the listener. I introduce myself in different ways to everyone, but in general, I'm a quantum physicist and science communicator. So I really enjoy doing research into both fundamental quantum science and applications of quantum science, so quantum computing in particular. And I really enjoy making content about these topics. Anything that I find really interesting in quantum, I enjoy making content in different kinds of media based on expressing those ideas to different audiences.
Okay. And for those that haven't come across you so far, what's your day job?
Yeah, I work at a company called Oxford Quantum Circuits, which is a spin out from the University of Oxford. And the company builds superconducting quantum computers. So my role at the company is a hybrid role. And it's partly doing research into an area called quantum error correction, which is part of the theory team that's in the company. And alongside that, I work on science communication and content. So that's with the marketing, commercial, product sides of the company, working on communicating the technical aspects of what we're doing to a range of audiences.
Fantastic. So you've been in quantum for quite a while. Was it 2019? Is that about right?
Yeah, that's when I first became more quantum focused, I'd say, yeah.
So looking back, what first drew you into sort of quantum? Was there a moment you thought, yeah, this is my field now?
Yeah, there are a few moments where I'd kind of edge into the field. There was kind of the initial getting inspired to do physics at university was partly inspired by quantum because of finding fundamental quantum phenomena very interesting and counterintuitive, and I wanted to understand the maths to actually understand those better. So that was kind of a stage from reading popular science about quantum in high school, inspired the studying it at university. And then I started to do, I did like a research project that was part of my master's towards the end of my undergrad. And it was quantum related. I specifically found a supervisor, Chiara Marletto, who was working on research that I had come across and I thought was really interesting. And I really enjoyed that project. So that was kind of what led me into a research pathway in terms of fundamental quantum science. And then there was like a quantum tech side, which happened around around summer 2019 was when I found out more about quantum computing, that you can program quantum computers on the cloud, and that I thought that was really cool, that you can create technology out of these weird counterintuitive quantum effects. And that kind of yeah, set me down the quantum technology pathway as well.
Cool. So at OQC, you've got a kind of rare hybrid role, from what I understand, where you're doing research and communication. How does that kind of balance? How does that play out in a day to day?
Yeah, it's my weeks and my days can look quite different depending on what kind of period I'm in. So sometimes the content side is the focus, and sometimes the research side is the focus, and it kind of depends on what's happening. But in general, I'll kind of have projects happening alongside each other on both strands, and then I'll work a few days on each one in the week when you kind of zoom out and look at it. So I guess on a day-to-day level, I on the research side will be kind of reading papers and discussing recent results and working on some code and ideas for interesting things to look at, and speaking with people in other technical teams like the experimentalists, and discussing things on the technical side. And then on the content side, I have kind of ongoing content projects. So I might be working on a video, for example, or a blog post, or reviewing something that someone's written to kind of check the technical accuracy and kind of try and bridge that technical and outward facing gap. Or that part of my role can also involve going to events. So I often go to events to either kind of represent the company at a stand, or give talks, or go on panels. So that's also a kind of hybrid of this technical and communicating sides.
Fantastic. And I know you call your superpower the ability to combine sort of technical expertise with high quality communication. How did those two threads develop together?
Yeah, I think they kind of, I guess, have been independently developing during my experiences in the past. So I kind of had my academic strand of learning things about physics, then going deeper and deeper into technical physics and quantum information. And then my kind of science communication strand, I'd say, probably began from doing, or was expressed in doing things like drama and these kind of more creative types of things in when I was growing up. And then kind of I always enjoyed making videos, like just this wasn't kind of science related, it was just making videos and plays and that kind of thing. And then at some point in kind of late high school and then throughout my undergrad, whenever there was an opportunity to do some kind of activity that would combine the two, like making some kind of content, I would end up converging to taking on those opportunities, whether it was like writing articles or going to events or entering competitions where you give like a 3-minute talk. I did a lot of that kind of thing. So it kind of, I guess the two together developed from taking those opportunities to do both whenever I came across them or was able to.
Is it? Do you think so you've got a creative side and then a science side, and this kind of satisfies both of those? Does it?
Yeah, I think that's right. So I definitely always wanted to keep the kind of technical research aspect going, because it kind of fuels for me the side of then spending another portion of my time expressing that in this kind of creative way where you're kind of thinking in a different way to when you're just doing the pure research by itself.
Does that help you kind of figure out the research, do you think?
Yeah, it definitely does for me. So that's almost a motivation for making some kind of content for me sometimes, is that I know that if I write an article about a certain topic, then I'm gonna understand it really well. So I kind of use that as a tool for understanding something well, is making a piece of content. And then there are several examples in the past where it's fed back into my research. So when I've been making this series of quantum paradoxes videos for Qiskit, for example, which was a series of videos explaining quantum computing, kind of thought experiments that you can implement on quantum computers. And doing those videos fed back into my PhD research, which I was doing alongside making those videos, and then inspired some research projects that I then have worked on or I'm working on papers on. So it's definitely been a feedback loop for me.
Fantastic. And what's the most surprising reaction you've had from that project?
I think I've had my own kind of surprises from it. One of which was when I kind of looked at the whole series of videos and then realized that all of these paradoxes that I was making videos on all kind of had exactly the same resolution, which was that you treat a measurement device as a quantum system, and then they all kind of they're all very different kind of storylines that get resolved in a common approach.
So it's definitely feeding back to your research then.
Yeah. I thought it was an interesting, kind of unifying point of these thought experiments. And I think people are very, often surprised by. So the motivation for the series was that I thought that that expressing these thought experiments as quantum circuits that you can run on a quantum computer is really helpful because it enables you to see exactly what's happening, because quantum circuits are quite a kind of simplified abstraction of the key mechanisms of what's happening without the rest of what's happening in a way. So it kind of extracts the key parts of the story of the thought experiment, and then you can more straightforwardly see where exactly the problem is. So I guess I often refer people to them if they think that the double slit experiment still doesn't make sense, or Schrödinger's cat, or decoherence, then or various things to do with non-locality. It's I think people are often surprised that there are resolutions to these and that they're not paradoxes, and hopefully the quantum computing lens is helping people to see that.
And are these available for people to watch?
Yeah, the whole series is on the Qiskit YouTube channel, and if you just type quantum paradoxes into YouTube, then the playlist comes up.
Make sure I make sure there's a link at the end of the episode to that. Staying on the content thing for a little bit, I know you've also got your Quantum Foundations podcast, which from what I've seen is basically trying to make quantum both accessible making accessible and technical episodes. What made you decide to do that format, and what have you learned about reaching different audiences, I suppose?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's well, the podcast started off because I really wanted to explain the idea of locality, because there are a lot of misconceptions about what exactly quantum mechanics says about locality. So when you have two entangled quantum systems, there's a common narrative that something that you do to one of them influences the other one. And it turns out that so this is kind of often called non-locality, but it turns out there's a completely local way of formulating quantum theory when you make certain assumptions. And I found out about this during my PhD, and I thought it was really interesting, and more people should know about it. It's really satisfying. And so a couple of these Qiskit videos that I mentioned address it, but when I did refer people to them to kind of say like, oh, look at these videos to understand locality, I'd kind of find that they weren't really in depth enough to fully take someone through the journey of the kind of steps and how it's consistent with the general narrative of non-locality and so on. So I wanted to interview one of my friends and colleague, Nisetu, who did his PhD on this topic, to kind of really get it all straight. But I wanted to be able to reach both the people that don't know actual mathematical quantum mechanics, but still are under this, have been exposed to this narrative of the non-locality. I wanted that group of people to be able to access and follow it. But then I knew that if people that do know quantum mechanics watch that, then they'll be like, well, what are they actually talking about? Like, what's physically going on here? And so I wanted to do a mathematical version for those people. So that was kind of the initial motivation, and then I carried on that format because I guess I see the mathematical one almost as it's kind of like a bridge to a technical paper, because it's kind of leading to that kind of a contribution to the research community, I guess. Whereas the accessible one is more a contribution to the public community. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And on top of that, you also do Quantum on the Clock competition. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that's an initiative that I thought of when I joined the Institute of Physics QQQ groups. This is like a special interest group as part of the Institute of Physics, Quantum Optics, Quantum Information, and Quantum Control. And I suggested that we run some kind of outreach initiative. And the idea became this Quantum on the Clock competition for high school students to create 3-minute videos about any aspect of quantum science or technology. And it went really well. We got like 200 students got involved. The top 20 videos are on the Institute of Physics YouTube channel, and the QQQ group team is now running the competition again for a second round this year. So hopefully we get lots of entries again. And yeah, it was we had like a prize giving ceremony as well, where all the students came in person, like the 10 winning students, and they got kind of lab tours and things. So I thought that was a nice way of getting lots of engagement with various ideas in quantum, and also getting a load of like creative ways of explaining different things.
No, exactly. And making people think how to distill an idea down into 3 minutes and making it explainable. A lot of the people that listen to this are students who are looking to enter the field. So I think that's quite fantastic. Was the first one in 2022? Yeah. And you've got one running now currently. What's the kind of cutoff date for that?
Yeah, it is the 4th of October, which is very soon, but I think it may be extended. So
okay.
If anyone's listening, they can check the Quantum
So
on the
how would
Clock
people
website.
get involved in that?
The Quantum on the Clock website has the details. So if you just search Quantum on the Clock, then it should come up as a page on the Institute of Physics pages. And then, all the details are there. And it's for people in the last 2 years of high school, so like 16 to 18-year-olds in the UK and Ireland. That's the kind of scope of the competition.
And is it to target people at a younger age to kind of come onto the quantum, into the quantum field?
yeah, it's kind of there as a entry point for someone who maybe has vaguely heard of quantum or doesn't really know what quantum is, and maybe sees the competition, thinks like, oh, this looks kind of interesting, and then I guess in a similar way to how I find when I make a piece of content about something is when I kind of really uh, get to grips with it. Hopefully it leads to that sort of process for whoever makes a video, that they uh, have at least some aspect of quantum that interests them, that they start exploring and kind of start navigating that whole space of all the different things in quantum that you might be interested in looking at.
Fantastic. So, it's kind of educational at the same time for both them and yourself listening to pitches. Other than this, are there any other kind of educational approaches that excite you right now, or you think are quite good for people to get into?
Yeah, there's loads of different. I think there's loads of different ways of teaching quantum. Um, so my kind of my theme is kind of along the lines of this quantum paradoxes series. Like more generally, I like to explain quantum concepts using thought experiments and then turning those thought experiments into quantum circuits. I find a really useful way of learning and introducing these ideas, which is kind of related to that series. I wrote a couple of quantum education papers outlining that kind of methodology. Um, I know some researchers, I know some educators working on a quantum course that's trying to be similar to, there's a website called Math Academy that teaches people maths and kind of tries to meet you where you're at in terms of the prerequisites that you need to learn it. And this one's called Physics Graph, and they started off with a quantum computing module that's meant to kind of meet people where they're at in terms of mathematical background, and then take them using like spaced repetition, take them all the way to understanding the quantum teleportation protocol, for example. So I think things like that are cool, that are making the kind of quantum information and quantum computing side of things accessible to people without having to go through like an entire physics degree or a degree in another subject, like just kind of extracting the quantum information parts from these syllabuses.
Yeah. And I suppose it's allowing people to kind of figure out, actually, is this for me? Is this environment for me? What approach would I like to take, and then maybe commit to it? So the question I was going to ask you is like, your career has crosses quite a few areas like research, communication, etc. What would you say to people if they're being told to stay in one lane or look at other options? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you tend to get the best outcomes by following your interests and the way that you're kind of naturally pulled to spending your time, I think. So I would sometimes look at, like during my PhD, because I was doing this internship with IBM Quantum where I was making the videos, I was doing that alongside my kind of academic research. And sometimes I'd think like, oh, should I be spending all this time on videos? Like, what if I didn't do this and I was just like focused on my research? Like, because PhD is it's enough to be doing. You could spend all your time like doing that. Like, should I just spend more time doing research? But I think even if that internship hadn't come up, I actually wouldn't have ended up spending that time doing research. Or even if I did try, I don't think it would have been very productive. I think I'd have ended up finding something similar to making videos in another format or doing something else that's kind of got a creative twist to kind of fill up that strand of time. And I think that it's also kind of more productive to do that than to try and make yourself spend all your time on one thing if you find that you're naturally gravitating towards spending it on different types of things. So yeah, it depends a lot on the person, because some people find they really just want to focus on one thing or one thing at a time and kind of put all their energy and concentration into that. So if that's kind of someone's working style, then it's probably better they do that than make themselves add something else into their into what they're doing. But yeah.
I think it's quite interesting that also by getting that additional, not saying everyone should go out and do what you're doing, obviously, but if that kind of sparks their interest, that do it, because I think it's interesting that it kind of teaches you collaboration, storytelling, which can then translate into mentoring and so on. So it gives you another skill set, which is kind of beyond physics and coding, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think often kind of career-wise, building up a few strands of skill sets where you've gone kind of deep in both is quite a good way of building up your skills, because then you can kind of carve out your niche in a way of having that intersection of two certain types of skills that you yeah that you've worked significantly on and can kind of do well.
Interesting. One thing I forgot is, obviously we mentioned 2019. You set up a, God, what's it called again now?
Oxford Quantum Information
It's the one.
Society.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Because you've got so many little sort of strings to your bow that
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember all the names.
Yeah. So that one started in summer 2019 is when I kind of came across quantum computing, and as I was mentioning earlier, found out that you could program quantum computers on the cloud, and thought that was really cool. And that was with IBM quantum computers. You could use Qiskit to program them. And so I was thinking that it would be cool if I could get like a group together to learn Qiskit and um, work on these things together. And then thought might as well just create like a whole society that is more broad than that and is more about quantum information as a whole and can cover both the fundamental and the tech sides. And then, as well as kind of learning Qiskit, we can have talks and other kinds of events. So I started that, and it was really cool because we organized like a load of different types of events. So, as well as the kind of more conventional style of having like an expert come in to give a talk, we also had PhD student flash talks, where a PhD student would give like a 10-minute talk, 15-minute talk about their quantum research, and there would be like 3 different students in one session. And that was really cool because it brought together students from across lots of different quantum research groups. And so people would kind of learn about a lot of topics, meet a lot of different people, and kind of understand what's going on at the university across all these quantum groups a lot better. We also had lab tours. I had a lab tour with Chris Balance from Oxford Ionics, which has now kind of grown and then was recently bought by IonQ. So it's been interesting to see that evolution. And also had a tour from Peter Leak, who has a superconducting quantum computing group in Oxford, which is where OQC spun out of. So that's been interesting to see the evolution of that as well. But the society was a really good way of connecting people interested in quantum in Oxford, and also kind of making those connections with some industry people that we invited and just people across the university, I think.
Fantastic. So you've seen the growth of quantum in the UK ecosystem quite firsthand, haven't you? What's kind of the biggest opportunities that you see in quantum over the next few years?
Yeah, the biggest opportunities in terms of like how the industry is going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one area that people, I think one interesting area to see how it develops is algorithms and applications. So there's this kind of feedback loop of we need to build better and better devices, and figuring out which algorithms have an advantage over classical computers when you run them on a quantum computer is really difficult to do kind of by hand. And there's even a recent paper kind of saying that it's difficult to, without having an actual quantum computer, it's difficult to figure out what kind of algorithms and applications have quantum advantage. So I think an interesting point and opportunity will be when we have quantum computers that are at a scale big enough to then start experimenting with those different applications. And it looks like we're kind of heading towards this, what's known as a megaquark scale quantum computer, which is one that can run millions of quantum operations. And that's the scale at which a lot of people in quantum chemistry, for example, are excited about trying things out on. So I think, getting to that scale of quantum computer and then trying things on that is an exciting opportunity for the community.
Mm-hmm. And error correction is obviously quite key to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll need error correction to get to the millions of operations level, because that needs an error rate of like 10 to the minus 6, like 1 part in a million. And you can't do that without having any error correction.
Exactly.
So it'll be
exactly,
essential.
and that's obviously key to OQC's roadmap, isn't it?
Yeah, we have this roadmap shift into the logical era from having had physical qubit devices so far, kind of scaling up physical qubit number and reducing the error rates on those. And now we're using a kind of new encoding on the same architecture, which starts to encode some logical protection on the hardware level. And then in the future, will use an error correcting code together with this kind of hardware level logical qubits and build out into the quantum error correction stages with the lower and lower error rates as we use those two hardware level and then outer level encodings. That's the OQC approach.
I'm not technical by any means, but does that mean that gives the hardware more accessibility, more places that it can be used or set up, etc.?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, right now there's a quantum computer that's been deployed in New York City, or is being deployed there. So that's kind of the first one that has these hardware level logical qubits. So they'll have a lower error rate than the previous physical qubit devices, and the devices will keep scaling from there.
Okay, I know we're going to run out of time soon, but we'll kind of lighten up a little bit. In terms of sort of people coming into it, is there a book, a podcast, a video that you would recommend for someone who's curious about quantum but is potentially intimidated by it? Where would you push them to start?
Yeah, can I recommend my own content?
100%. Yeah, that
I
was going to be one of
have,
my questions as to where we can find yours. But let's do that now for sure.
yeah, I made an introduction to quantum computing video playlist, which is essentially based on an introduction to quantum computing talk that I've been giving, and then I split it up into a few topics. And I think it gives a kind of accessible and concise introduction to quantum computing, going from like the origins and the basic ideas to kind of what's happening in the industry, what are the possible applications, what's kind of going on at the moment, um, what is quantum error correction, uh, and kind of introducing the terminology and the ideas of where we're at. So I kind of made that series and recorded it exactly to have as like a reference point for when people ask me what's a good intro to quantum computing. I'm like, well, this is
There
the
you go.
information that I think is a good intro for
Well, I'm
quantum
glad I asked the
computing.
question there. So where can people find your work?
Yeah, so those videos will be on my YouTube channel, which is my name. So it's Dr. Maria Violaris is the name of the channel. More generally, I post on LinkedIn often, usually whenever I'm doing some kind of content or talks or events, or occasionally just some comment about something. So yeah, following on there is also a good way to keep in touch.
Fantastic. And finally, what's next for you? Whether it's research, outreach, or content creation, what's on the horizon for the last quarter of the year?
Yeah, there's a lot planned. I have a load of podcast episodes that I've recorded and need to push through my editing and posting. So I'm excited to post them. They've been some really really cool conversations that I'm excited to share. There's other kind of explainer videos that I want to record that I've kind of had in my mind for a while, but want to make some time
Got to
to
find the
record
time.
those. Yeah.
Yeah,
um, and then yeah, I've got some video work that I'm working on at IQC that I'm looking forward to putting together, and uh, yeah, we're doing some interesting exploratory research at the moment. So hopefully make some good progress on that over the next few months. Then on my kind of personal quantum foundations research, I've got some papers that I've been working on with collaborators. So gonna work on finishing off those and yeah, have some talks coming up like at this New Scientist event in London. So that'll be a kind of new thing to try for me. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, that's my next few months.
fantastic. Well, obviously, you are super busy, and I say thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. I've been following your content online on LinkedIn and YouTube, and that's the reason why I wanted to get you on here, is just try and get the message out there, get the audience out there. And I love the fact that you're making content in quantum that's more explainable. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a great end to the year, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It was fun.
And that's a wrap on today's quantum adventure. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, share it with a fellow quantum enthusiast, and leave us a review. It helps us reach much more curious minds. If you have any questions or feedback, please reach out at beyondthebit.quantum@gmail.com. Stay tuned for more exciting explorations into the world of quantum careers. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, keep exploring the quantum possibilities.